Hello and thank you for joining me for another painting tutorial. Today I am painting a Warhammer 40k axe. This is a life-size axe, not a miniature version, so it's for those followers of Khorne, any of those berserkers, anyone that feels the pull to chaos. Starting off with the spray coat on here, you can see I've just gone over it with grey. That is always a grey primer, and I'm going straight in with the base colours. This is a dark red, this is a sienna red, and use any dark red that you have. This is just a standard acrylic paint. Go over any of those areas that you want to be red, and here you can see the ones I've chosen, but take total free reign with this and go over what you want to be red. And you don't have to follow what I do, but you can use mine as a good starting guide. When you're satisfied with the red, coat any areas in black, and then I'm going to move on to some of the metallics. So I'm doing silver. Here I'm just painting all the little screws and rivets in silver, and any of those metal grills that you can see that are currently obscured by any black paint. These are all just a mix of acrylic paints, various brands. Some are just from a local art shop, a stationery shop, others are from Games Workshop. Those Citadel branded ones, but do let me know if you want to know the exact brands that I use. when you're happy with the metallics, we'll move on to painting the leather type wrap, and the base colour for that is just going to be any dark brown that you can get. Again, I'm not watering down the acrylics much for this one, I'm just using them straight out of the pot, but thin the paint to what you feel comfortable with. I'm quite happy keeping them thicker at times, other times I want them a bit thinner. I might just wet the bristles a little bit and just get that paint straight on there. Once you've done with the brown on the wrap, look at the bone colours, so looking at beiges and creams, and I'm starting off a bit dark and we'll lighten them up later on. And you get your bone colours done on the spike at the end and on any of the skulls. When you've done that one, then look at the bronze areas that you want. So back to the metallics, we've done the silver metallics, then we're going to do bronze or copper or whatever colour you would like your metallics to be. So if you're used to miniature painting, you'll see that we're following quite a familiar format here. We've gone from the base colours to the washes. Here I'm going over this bone colour. I want it to be a slightly torn skin sort of effect with spikes growing out of it. So I'm just making a watered down wash with some cream, some skin tone paint, and I'll go over this a few times, dabbing away at it with some kitchen towel, mopping up, and I'll change the tones. I'm not being particularly careful with it. I want some of the base colour to show through, and then I want to darken some of the areas that naturally have recesses in how the model is made. So I'll add bits of red into that and bits of purple into that, just to give it a bit of a dead skin, veiny type effect. You can make it your own, and you know it will come together. It looks a bit messy at first, but you just build up those layers, build up the layers each time, changing the colour a bit. And if you don't like it, you go back in with some of the beige. For everywhere else, I just watered down a dark brown, and I went over all of this, including the washed over skin tone area. But this is going to really darken up. It will leave a bit of a muddy effect, and I'm naturally letting it fall into all the recesses because it's a bit watery. Might do a couple of coats of this in some places just to really build up that effect, and I will use some kitchen towel and I'll just dab it away just to give it a slightly more mottled look rather than the brush strokes. You could also apply this with a sponge or dab some away with a sponge, but do this until you are happy with the darkened effect that you'll get, and then we'll look back at lightening some of these areas up. So highlights, essentially we're going to go back in with some of those original base colours and some lighter versions of those colours. So for the skin effect, I'm using some Men Off highlight here by P3, and a lot of these are going to be dry brushed on. So I'm going to get some of the paint on the brush, I'm going to wipe a lot of it off onto some kitchen towel, and then I'm going to lightly just drag it over these areas now. It will catch some of the higher areas, I'm avoiding the recesses because the bristles are just flicking past them, and I'm going to build this up until I get some of the skin colour back and it looks how I want it. We'll do the same with the red. I'm going to go back in with that original base colour. I'm not going to put this everywhere. I want to leave some of that griminess, but I'm going to dry brush this quite sporadically in some of the flat areas. And you'll see as we get some again on the brush, I'm going to wipe some away, and I'm just scrubbing it. I'm being quite haphazard with this. I'm making up and down, back and forth circular motions, avoiding some areas, getting it a bit more into other areas, just to bring back some of that colour. When that red is done, I'll actually go back into this with another slightly brighter red, and again to build up the layers of tone through it. It'll be a crimson red, and I'll just go straight over the top. I'm not even washing the brush in between. Do this until it reaches the level of red that you would like. So the skulls look nicely dirty from what we've done with that brown wash over it. I'm going to go over with some of that original base colour again, avoiding those recesses, but I'm hitting all those high areas because we want the skull to stand out and be able to really protrude out of there. Once I've done enough with that original base colour, I'm going to take some of that highlights that we used before on the skin tone and just go over again, concentrating that slightly more around to the central highest areas to really give it a brightness, and it will really help it stand out against that darkened red background. We'll do the same thing with those bronze tones. You could do this with a bronze colour, with a gold colour, with a copper colour, whatever colour you like. It can be complementary, it can contrast against it. I didn't use the original colour here, I just went in a slightly different tone, but whatever makes it look best for you. I just wanted to brighten it up and add back a little bit of shine. Not too much though, because I did want it to just keep that grungy look, but I just wanted a little bit of reflective coating over all those metallic parts. Now for the wrap, we want to give it a bit of a worn leather look. So we had a dark brown, and we're going to go up for a couple of tones, just lightening this up. Pick any browns that you have, mix them with some cream or some ochre or any other lighter tones that you can, and we're going to just dry brush over this, just catching all those raised edges and leaving the darkness in the recesses. If you just flick it back and forth, I'll do this on a few layers. So I'll start off a bit dark, I'll add a bit more of a creamy tone, mix it in, dry brush that over, a bit more of a creamy tone, and then I might do a last layer just with the cream tone on its own, concentrating to where the hand would naturally hold and really wear that away. So this is now looking really good, but I like to add in some battle damage. I want things to look as beaten and as worn as the Chaos Holder would probably have it. I don't imagine I do too many repairs. So I'm using a metallic silver here. This one is a Games Workshop lead belcher colour, but use any silver that you can get. And the model naturally has some cuts and some damage through it. So I'm using this and I'm just picking a side of the gouges and the scratches and just painting a line down it, just as though it's gone through the painted area and it's exposed some of the metallic work underneath, and that will really add to the effect. I'm going to do this all over. I'm using this silver on the black, on any silver parts, on the bronze or the gold, and also on the red. So it's one silver, and that's really going to help all those other colours stand out. that same silver, I'm going to just grab a little bit of sponge. This is just a torn off piece of sponge from washing up, scouring sponge. I've dipped it into silver paint, I've dabbed most of it off on that kitchen towel, and I'm just going to use it to go over any parts I think might need a bit more. I'm not going to go too crazy with this, but corners, things that are going to get naturally scuffed. Apologies that a bunch of that is off camera. I'm still getting used to my field of view on here, but you'll get the idea. I'm just dabbing around areas where I think it might get a bit more damage. So I'm not just looking at cuts and gouges and scratches, I'm looking at just general wear and tear, nicks and bits that have caught or debris have hit it, and that will really just bring to life what we're doing. So the final stage on me for this is weathering. I like to do this as a final thing here. This is a bit of a more of a technical part of it. I'm using a texture paint here. This is the Games Workshop one. Do only use your old brushes with this. This paint contains bits. It's quite a gritty paint called Typhus Corrosion, and I just blob it on anywhere I think some dirt might gather and collate. Slap it in now, use some kitchen towel, and I just drag it downwards just to make some streaks. I'll let it pool into some areas, I'll drag it down. It really adds a lot of depth to what we're doing. So don't go crazy with this one, but it will just help add a level of dirt and grime that you just don't get from other paint. Anywhere you think it's going to collect and gather up, splodge this on, dab it away a bit. Use the bristles just to stipple it into other areas, and you'll really notice a really good effect. Now, it wouldn't be Khorne or Chaos if we didn't have any blood effects, so the last thing I'm going to do here is naturally use some blood for the Blood God, which is a technical paint from Games Workshop. It's a thick, gloopy, glossy, dark blood colour. Now, previously I've done effects on this where I've dipped a toothbrush in and I've just splattered it over. I use it to paint tears. I'm going over the teeth and just splodging it on wherever I think I want a bit of chaos, I want a bit of blood. Where would it get to? And it really looks good. I'd say don't put it on absolutely everywhere, but you know, you use it to good effect. So I like to use it as a tear running down the skull. I put it on the teeth and I'll just flick and splatter some here and there. A bit of gore and a bit of viscera. You know, it's exactly what we want from a follower of the Blood God. So that's the last part from me. We'll varnish this up, it gets put together, and I really hope you enjoy becoming a follower of Khorne yourself. If you would like to make this, do have a look at the Mystery Makers Patreon. That's where I downloaded the files from and printed them. If it's something you would like me to make for you, so it's paint, or you want me to paint and send to you, check out my Etsy shop. There's printed movie props on there. And do look at Instagram, where you can see a lot more of my work. I would love it if you would subscribe to the channel and leave any comments or reviews. If there's anything you'd like to see me make or paint, do let me know. I'm really enjoying making these, and I'm enjoying sharing with you how I do it. I hope it's been of some use to you, and I will see you again.